Hello, welcome back to Silver Thread Sewing. I'm Diane. This is Friday Sews. So as always, thank you for stopping by my little channel. I appreciate you taking out the time to do that. I have been sewing a little bit and planning a little bit and not a lot of anything part of the time. After Christmas, I got sick and I had a cough for a couple of weeks and couldn't talk and just, did the test and all the bad things were negative, but I was still sick, had a fever and all that. So it took me a while to get over that. And then I wanted to get the house cleaned before the new year got here. So I had to work at getting everything cleaned and all the Christmas stuff put away. And by the time I would finish cleaning at the end of the day, I was just too pooped to come down and do anything. So my sewing room is a disaster. I've got stuff piled everywhere. Thankfully, I think what little bit you see of my corner is halfway presentable. I've still got my little blinky lights, and I'm thinking I'm going to leave them because I really like them. So they don't put off a lot of light, but they make me happy, so that's good. But before I go into this any further, as always, thank you to Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for starting the hashtag Friday Sews. And if you don't already follow that hashtag, there is tons of people who participate all over the place, and it's a great way to find new sewing content if you desire to. So a couple things I have finished. I'm wearing one of them, and I finished another one. And then I'm still working on one, and I have some plans and some thoughts and some ideas and things and a couple products that I've used that I wanted to get back and let you know how I got on with them. So the first thing that I finished is the Love Notions Ballad Blouse, and I will put a picture in of me wearing that. I had worked on it way before Christmas. It was supposed to be my Thanksgiving outfit with my Largo cargos and then having this ballad blouse, but I didn't get it finished till after Christmas. So I'm very happy with it. I may go in and tighten the sleeves just a little bit. I went ahead and did the sleeves kind of my own way. I hemmed the bottom, and then I measured up 2 inches from the bottom and did 3 rows of shirring with shirring elastic, and it did draw them in, but not quite enough. They're still a little bit loose and kind of look sloppy and baggy. So what I may do is go in and take that out and just put a couple casings or one casing and put a piece of elastic. I don't like anything really tight on my wrists, so I will have to be careful how tight I make those, because it bugs me if it's real tight, but it also bugs me if it's real loose. I just have all kinds of issues, I know. So the other thing that I have finished is Newlook 6759, and I'll put a picture of the pattern. I have made this sweatshirt before. This time I made it in this beautiful fabric that my friend Cynthia from Mountain Accent Sewing had gifted to me, and she also gifted me the rib knit cuffing, I guess, that goes with it. Well, I wanted to do the neckline in the same thing. There wasn't quite enough to do a band at the bottom, and I didn't really care for a band at the bottom, especially not in a contrast color. So I did the ribbing and did the cuffs. I took about 2 inches off of these sleeves, and I probably didn't need to take quite as much as I did, because when I bend my arms, it does come up just a little bit. But I can't stand them hanging out over my hands, because I'm always washing my hands and in water and what have you. So I didn't want them to be so long as the others. I've made this 2 or 3 other times, and I just love the pattern. But this time, the pattern is a unisex, so it has a female and a male version. And there was pockets that you could do. It was shown on the male version, but they were kind of made inside. I'm not 100% sure, because that's not the version I made. But anyway, I drafted a kangaroo pocket, and let me stand up and try to show you that. And I just measured halfway on the sweatshirt front, and I probably made it a little bit too deep, like from here to here, but I love it. And it's deep enough that I can put my phone in it, so I came up a little bit farther on the sides, and then I just turned that raw edge in and hemmed them. And I just winged it, and I absolutely love it. It could use a good press. I pressed it when I first made it, but it's been washed since then. But anyway, I didn't know on the ribbing it was about 3 inches wide. Same size as this, minus the seam allowance. But I wanted to incorporate that into the neckband. So I cut it down to about 2 inches, and probably should have done it a little bit wider than that, but because when I turned it in and sewed and did the top stitch along the edge to keep it inside, and it's kind of maybe a little bit too narrow. But I love it, and I don't care that it's a little bit narrow. It feels great. This fabric is beautiful. I believe Cynthia told me this was in her subscription box from Beyond the Pink Door once, and I think the color just wasn't her color palette, and so she passed it on to me along with the ribbing, and I've been dying to make it, but I've also been terrified that I would mess it up. So again, that is Newlook 6759. And I made this version and added the kangaroo pocket. So I had been working on Simplicity 9711. And I was working on the version that the model was wearing. And I've had it cut out for a little while, but I've not got it sewn up yet. I missed Christmas and I kind of lost interest. And then I realized that we're having a Valentine's dinner at church. So this is the fabric that I'm using, and I've shown you this before, but it's very, very pretty. It's kind of shiny. It's a little bit coarse feeling, and I don't even know what it is, but I really, really like it. Now, when I laid this fabric out to cut the skirt out, realized that there was some damage to the selvage edges of the fabric. Looked like it had been caught up, I guess, in some kind of a cutting machine or something. So it was at kind of regular intervals throughout the yardage. I had about 2.5 yards, I believe, and all through the selvage of it, it had these huge chunks missing. So I had to kind of work around that. But I have got it cut out, and hopefully I'll get that sewn up and I can wear that for Valentine's Day. Now, I had shown you before Christmas and told you that I would report back. I had purchased some of this material. It's a polypropylene material, and it's made to cover the ground. Like, you can cover up plants to prevent frost from hurting them, or you can put this down underneath plants to keep weeds from growing, and all sorts of uses outside for this. But it is just polypropylene. It's like a plastic, recycled plastic, and I got a whole pack of this. I think it was, I don't even remember. I'll try to put I'll put a link to it so you can look at it if you're interested in it. But you can see through it just great. And I use this to trace the skirt pattern. And I'm pretty sure, as sturdy as this is, you could do a toile out of this. You could make a muslin, a practice garment out of this. I think you could sew it with maybe a basting stitch, and I don't think that it would cause it to tear. And enough to at least make a toile. Now, one thing I will tell you, and I've got a picture, when I opened this up and started to unfold this material, it was kind of like, oh my goodness, what have I done? It's huge. It is absolutely huge. And they have it all nicely folded and in a little bag, and it just looks so innocent and harmless. Well, then when I unfolded it, it was in layers, and you had to keep undoing the layers. And so I wound up just taking and cutting pieces out of it that would be big enough for me to, I measured it along my cutting table and just cut pieces out that would be large enough to trace a pattern, even a dress pattern, because you can see through this really well. Even with my vision, you can see perfectly to mark all your important markings that you need to trace and transfer. So I really have enjoyed that. And then you can also see through it to transfer the markings onto your fabric. So I really do like it, but be warned, if you get it and open the pack, be prepared for it to fluff up and go like everywhere. So I've got mine corralled. I've cut it into pieces. So I've cut it and I have folded it back into more manageable sized pieces. So I'm hoping that's going to work out, but it'll probably last me for a really long time. Now, a couple things that I was going to mention to you. Of course, I watch So Carol, as I'm certain all of you do. And Carol is doing, again this year, she is doing the Fabric Wheel of Fate. Now, she's created a hashtag for that, hashtag Fabric Wheel of Fate. And she has invited all us sewers, if we choose to join in and make our own version of the Fabric Wheel of Fate. However, if you number a fabric and roll the dice, or if you make some sort of wheel, or just, a random way of choosing fabric that maybe you don't exactly know what to do with. So I have enlisted Greg, my husband, to help me, and he's going to figure out some way to make me a little version, even if it's paper plate. I told him, I don't care what it's made out of. It can be a piece of pasteboard, anything that we can spin a wheel. And I'm going to try my luck at the Fabric Wheel of Fate. So I'm very excited about doing that. And I really enjoy Carol's. And all her makes always turn out great and look perfect on her. But I've got some fabrics that I really don't know what to do and with, what to make from. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. I don't know that mine will turn out as well as hers, but, we'll try. The other thing I wanted to mention was there's been, I guess in January, that's a good time to start those kind of things and start thinking about it. And I've seen a couple different YouTube videos about people who are going to try to sew the fabrics they have, use what they have, and not buy a lot of new fabrics and not buy a lot of new patterns and things. And I like that idea a lot because I have a lot of fabric and a lot of patterns, and I tend to make the same one over and over. If I find something that suits me and that fits me and that I like to make, just like the Love Notions patterns, I've made them so many times and I want to continue, and I've got some new ones. I got the, I can't remember the name. I'll try to put a picture of it, but it's the new little vest pattern to be made out of knits. And I've been looking for something like that to wear over dresses or maybe over long sleeve shirts in the wintertime. And I did get that new pattern. It was on sale, and I was very happy to get that pattern. I love Notions, and they really do fit me super good. But I have so many patterns, like the Big 4 or Big 5, whatever, and I still typically make the same ones, just like this sweatshirt. This is the 3rd or 4th time I've made it, but I know it fits me and I know I like it, and I don't have to worry about ruining my fabric and not being able to wear it. So that's why I tend to do that, but I do need to buy less and use more of what I have. You guys had been so great in the comments on my last video with suggestions for the Ladybug PK. My friend Mimi told me it's PK fabric. So PK, the strawberry print, and the, I'm looking because it's over there on the stack, the Ladybug print that is snow white in background, and then the different colored strawberries. And several comments were about making sundresses out of that fabric, and I really like that. I have not worn a sundress since I don't even remember when, because I have ugly arms. But my friend Mimi had suggested doing a dress with a full skirt, and then maybe like I think she said the 50s maybe, a little long sleeve jacket, like a little, maybe a bolo jacket or a bolero jacket. I don't know how you say that exactly, but the long sleeves or 3/4 length sleeves, and then it would just go over the dress. And then I think someone else had suggested possibly a pair of some kind of little pants or even a jumpsuit. And I used to wear, when I was young and skinnier, I had a little jumpsuit, and I wore that thing to death. And I've not had one, and I've got some patterns, but I hadn't really thought of making one simply because they're not as convenient now, and I just don't know that they would look good on me. But that's one thing that I would like to do differently this year. I want to step out of my comfort zone and make things, I've bought the fabric, it's here, it's mine. I want to be able to wear it and enjoy it, just like this. I waited for so long to make this because Cynthia had gifted me this. I love it, and I didn't want to mess it up and not be able to wear it. But truly, I'm wasting it by letting it sit in my stash. So I really want to jump on that bandwagon of using fabrics that I have been too precious about, and trying different patterns, and trying to work harder on fitting things so that I don't have to worry about them being too tight or too big or too whatever. Trying to work more on that end of things, and making sure I can wear things before I make them. And that way my fabric can be used, and I will enjoy it, and I'll have clothes to wear instead of wearing the same old things all the time. So there's a lot of benefits to that. And I, might need a spool thread or something, but I've got pretty much whatever I might need. I've got some interfacing, and I've got some threads, and I've got pins and marking tools, and I don't need any more of that, and I don't need to buy any more patterns until I go through my patterns and make the ones that I love. And so that's my goal. I'm not saying plan, because I don't make plans. I don't stick to them. But my goal is just to use what I have and enjoy it, and not worry so much about, is this going to work? Is this going to be okay? Just, it's better to use it and maybe not like it once you're done than to never use it, than just to keep it because moth, or I don't know, sunshine. Your fabrics can fade if they're left out in the sun or from a window. I don't have a lot of natural light, so I'm not sure. And I don't have moth that I know of, but moth eat it, and then it's ruined. So I might as well enjoy ruining it than to let the moth and the sunshine ruin it. So if it's going to be ruined, I'm going to be the one to ruin it, not leaving it in boxes and shelves and all that stuff. So wish me luck. And I think that I have yapped about everything that I had planned to, but I did want to get back on here. One other thing, I had mentioned in my last video that I do loom knitting. I had made some hats and scarves and gave those for Christmas. And I believe it was Carol from So Carol had mentioned that she would like to see the process of loom knitting. So I'm going to make a little short video. It won't be a tutorial, but I will kind of walk you through how it starts and show you a little bit. And it might be enough to show you, if you're interested in it enough, to pursue it. Because I can crochet with a needle, but I can only crochet back and forth. I can do single crochet, double crochet, and triple crochet, but I can't read a pattern. I can't crochet a sweater or whatever. But with the loom knitting, it's a lot easier for me to keep my place. It's a lot easier for me to see my progress and to know where I'm at on it. So I am going to do a little video, but I won't put that on Friday Sews. I'll just put that out separately. I've got parts of it already videoed, so I'm going to finish that up, and hopefully maybe this weekend or early next week I'll just put that out. And if you're interested in loom knitting, as I am, it's a good way, if you don't want to sew all the time, or if you want to sit in the living room with your spouse and puppies and all that, it's a great way to still be busy. But I don't have to pay as close attention to that as I would other crafts that have to be counted, or that you have to follow a pattern or whatever. There's a pattern to this and to the hats, but it's not as hard for me to keep up with where I've left off. So anyway, if that interests you, be watching for that in a few days. I'm going to put that video out by itself. And hopefully I'll have my skirt done soon. And I am taking your messages to heart. And I am definitely pursuing a sundress, because it's really cold, and it's supposed to be like 0 here next week. And we've had snow. And I'll put a little video in at the end of us driving up our driveway. Our driveway is very steep at the bottom and fairly steep at the top, and yeah, you might get a kick in that because I was videoing as we drove up our driveway the other day, and it was pretty slick. So I'll add that at the end just to give you something to laugh about, maybe. But there's no sound, I don't think, to it. But it was pretty snowy here, and we've had kind of some rough weather. So I don't enjoy it like I did when I was a kid. But you know, things change. You get afraid of falling and breaking a hip or something. You know, I understand. So I will shut up, and remember, as always, don't ever stop sewing, because as long as you sew, you'll never have time or money to get into any kind of trouble. Ask me how I know. Have a great weekend, and thanks so much for everything. Bye.